Welcome to Real Talk with Glen and Mike, the show that gives you real, raw, and unfiltered conversations with your favorite African thought leaders and trendsetters.
Mhoroi, Mhoroi, Mhoroi. Waking up and get the money, man.
What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode 6 of A Real Talk with Glen and Mike. Yeah. I'm mad excited, man. It's been really awesome. You guys have been walking this journey with us. So once again, welcome. We're back another week of season 1. This week we have, man, I'm super excited. He's an actor I've watched in front of my screens. I used to sit at home, sit down and be like, yo, guys, I'm watching this guy. I've also, watched his journey grow. For those that watch MTV Suga, they are Mazi. Sol is in the building. Ayanda Makayi. Ayanda.
Drum roll.
Yeah. What's good, bro?
Hey, man, I'm easy. And yourself? Thank you for having me. Shout out to you guys. Love what you guys are doing. Shout out to all your viewers, your listeners. And big ups, man. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it, man. Glenn, take over, bro. Let's see what you have for Ayanda.
Man, Ayanda's background is already intimidating. You can tell we have celebrity in the house, don't you? We've got celebrity. We've got real celebrity. Look at my background. Look at Mike's background. Look at his. But man, it's a great pleasure having you here. Very grateful that you actually, took up our offer and decided to come and, share your story with the rest of our audience. We want this show to reach out to Africa. And we're starting from where we are now, and it's great to have great names and achievers like you on the show. Now, I did a bit of my research on who Ayanda is, right? Because obviously, I wanted to know what's the down low on the brother. I didn't know you would come and be all glam like that, but yo, it's all right.
Hey, man. I had to step up, man.
You are making us step up, actually. The next show, Mike and I we have to invest in the backgrounds, man. We have to do that. But who is Ayanda?
Ayanda is a mama's boy, proud mama's boy, born and bred in the Eastern Cape, in a small town called Queenstown. A young boy who was raised by a single parent who decided, who fell in love with the power of influencing and I guess motivating people through his story. And this was because I used to grow up following my mother because she was a motivational speaker and an MC of events. So I fell in love with how she conducted the crowd, and so I decided that's what I want to do. Fast forward, moved to Johannesburg, follow the dream, study, and here I am today, having created a brand called I Understand. I've grown to realize that my purpose and my goal is for me to be on this earth to tell a story, be a vehicle to tell people's stories, because I feel everyone's story is important enough to be heard. There's no story less than anyone's story. Yeah.
See, the motivation has already started.
You said what, Glenn?
I said, I see the motivation has already started. Like he's already getting into the story about purpose and being who you have been created to be. Obviously, there is that artistic side to you. There is the motivational side to you. And there is also the humanitarian side to you. I've seen that you're also an ambassador for the UN Refugee Agency. Tell us, how do all these worlds come together to bring out the men that you are? The mama's boy that you are. Let's take it from man to mama's boy.
Look, man, I think all of these facets are just, simply vehicles to serve a bigger purpose, I think the arts in itself is simply a way for me to, to get my voice out and be a vehicle, but also for people to welcome me into their homes, Once they welcome me into their homes, I can then go in and complete the purpose. You know what I mean? So having done work with the UN, what we do is we try to change the narrative of refugees in Africa. We're tired of painting refugees as famine, as hunger, as malnutrition, and we want to tell the positive stories that refugees are doing. I mean, if you look at the Bayern Munich team that just won the UEFA Champions League, there's a refugee in that team.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know that, you know.
Saw that from your cheetah.
Exactly, you know. Refugees have an Olympic team. People don't know that. You know, there's a girl I met in Kakuma in Nairobi that created an app in the refugee camp. You know, those are the stories we're trying to tell. Those are the stories we're trying to focus on. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make Africans care for Africa. So we're tired of waiting for refugees to be fed by Europe and Asia. You know, we're trying to make sure that we as Africans understand that refugees are just like you and me. They are brothers and sisters. It's just that their nightmares became a reality. You know what I mean?
So tell me something, Ayanda. What drove you to want to partake in this road? That's a very emotionally taking road. You have to be truly invested and still be an actor and still do your day-to-day life. Why walk this route?
I know it might sound cliche, man, but I really think it was just a matter of purpose, you know. It found me, to be honest with you. A friend of mine who was doing the project with the UN, they were creating the VR stuff, and he was like, dude, we need someone to be the presenter for it, you know. Would you be available? And I was like, yeah, put me on. Little did I know that that was just the beginning of something bigger, you know. And after I did that job, the UN then approached me and said, listen, we are putting together numerous other, you know, personalities, Nomza Mombata, Anati, Leanne Manis from Morning Live, the Goliath Brothers, Tresor, you know, the list is endless. And other, I mean, Two-Face Baba, you know, and numerous other African artists. And they were like, you know, would you be keen to join? And I was like, well, yeah, you know, I'd love to. And then as I started being part of this project, I realized that it serves my purpose of wanting to be a vehicle to tell people's stories. Because the more I got invested in the refugee stories, the more I realized that these stories need to be told.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Interesting. It's all right, Mike. You can go ahead.
This is what happens when you're having too much fun. Intriguing though. I am interested. I want to see how this all links to your career. Like I mentioned, I've watched MTV Suga, and I've seen your character. Does not remotely resonate who Ayanda is right now. The person that Ayanda is talking about is not Saul. And if there's anything that I know about acting, is you literally have to play that character. You have to forget who Ayanda is. How do you merge those worlds? It must be so emotionally tolling, bro.
Well, I mean, you have, like I said, everyone's story is important. It needs to be told, you know. And so I had to commit to that character without judging it, you know. If I judged it, then I would never be honest with the character, you know. But what that character ended up doing, actually, it ended up fueling a bigger side or another side of my purpose, or something that really drives me, which is talking to young men, you know, and talking to men in general, you know. And through that story and the experience that I've had with MTV Suga, that fire has really, you know, been ignited, you know. With the story of Saul, I realized that as much as he's the perpetrator, he's the rapist, or whatever it is, in order for us to rehabilitate men, we need to find the root cause, right? We can't say, he's a rapist, put him in prison, and do nothing, and then do nothing about it. Expect him to sit there, and then when he comes out, he's going to come out and do the same thing. What we're supposed to be doing is put him in prison, but deal with the root cause. Why do you do this? Where does this come from? You know, we've discovered through the story of Saul that this is something he learned from his dad. This is the only way he knows how to express love. If I love you, I should discipline you. You know, if I buy you stuff, then I'm entitled to have sex with you whenever.
Right.
You know? And so it fueled that now, and that's where Ayanda comes into the picture, because Ayanda now wants to deal with other men, so that we don't get to that point of where Saul was. We deal with the issues while they're still bubbling underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very serious problem in Africa right now. Not just Africa, but in the world. But I think more acutely in South Africa, because the statistics are really, they're scary, really sobering. And it's sometimes easy, you know, when let's just take back to one of the greatest to ever do it for people of color, Chadwick Boseman, may his soul rest in peace. His character was bigger than just being, you know, Black Panther, Wakanda forever. It had meaning to
the glimmer of hope.
Exactly. And now when we look at the kind of role that you are playing, you know, in this is something that is relatable. It's something that a woman watches and says, you know what, I've probably experienced that. It's something that a man looks at and says, that's probably my behavior. Am I toxic? Am I a bad person? Am I the person being portrayed right now? How do you take that responsibility? Where, I mean, I think actors usually just think, sometimes get in, do the role, do it as great as you can. If you can, get an award, get the next job, get paid.
Yeah.
But after the death of Chadwick, we can actually all see that there is something greater. It transcends beyond the screen to actually making an impact in people's lives. How does it feel for you? Have you had that kind of responsibility to say, I'm carrying this? Or it's dawning on you now that as Ayanda, you have this responsibility that you carry as soul in the documentary, in the show?
I think for me, it did come from the first season of MTV Suga, and the response I started getting from people, you know, across the globe. And people would say, listen, I hate you and I hate your character, but I want to give you a hug because I kind of get where it's coming from. There are moments where I do feel sorry for you, you know, and I will ask myself when I watch, if this had not had happened, would he have been this animal really? You know, and from that moment, I realized that I've got a greater responsibility in what I'm doing. You know, I once did a movie, one of these Mzansi Magic, you know, Lokshan bioscopes, like these small community stuff. There was a film that I did about Nyaupe, which was a huge pandemic, you know, in terms of the drug space in South Africa. And I did that film, I think, back in 2004, 15. When I went back to Eastern Cape in 2016, there's a guy who stopped me and he said to me, I think that was actually a defining point of realizing my responsibility. There's someone who stopped me and said, dude, after watching your movie, I stopped smoking Nyaupe.
Whoa.
Oh.
You know? And then that hit me that it's bigger than just the 5 days on set and whatever and cut and that's the end of it and you go home. You know, there's someone sitting out there at home who's going to be watching it and who's going to relate to it.
You relate to the story, right?
Yeah, they're going to relate to it. They're going to see someone they know or they're going to see themselves. And there's something they're going to take out of that, you know? And so that's why it's very important as an artist, when you do something, do it truthfully, you know? And when you tackle a character, you cannot judge it. You have to commit to it and be honest with it and be objective, and because someone out there, that's someone else's story.
So question, you know, usually when people watch TV, at times they can't tell the difference between the person and the character. I've known actors, I've known entertainers my entire life, and at times some people might meet you and be like, Sol, what's up, dog? How do people receive that character in actual person? Do they still know who Ayanda is, or are they looking at you as Sol?
Well, locally in South Africa, I've been fortunate, obviously, to do a number of different shows. So the South African audience, you know, can kind of remove me from it. Because 1 minute I'm playing a rural, cute little boy, and then, you know, so they can easily kind of differentiate. It's the rest of Africa where I've had a bit of an issue, you know, well, not even an issue, more of a challenge. But like I said, the way the story has been told, a lot of people, in the first season, I used to get a lot of DMs from like, you're Kenya, you're Nigerian, like, dude, I hate you.
I can only imagine.
You know, how could you kill Tulu? That was my crush. I hate you. Blah, blah. you know. And women would be like, "How dare you? You are filthy. We condemn you," and all of that stuff. But in season 2, when the story was explained, the root cause of the character, and when Saul lost someone through the same thing, someone close to him through the same thing, people came back and said, "I hate you, but I want to give you a hug."
Now it's different.
Yeah. Two questions.
Yeah.
Two questions, Ayanda. First of all, you have intimated on how you have started making reach outside South Africa into the rest of the region and the world in particular. Now, this is not a privilege that almost every actor gets. So you either actually, to be on national TV is a privilege that only a very few select actors get to enjoy. But you enjoy that. You have audience everywhere in the world, in Africa and in the world. How does that feel? And how did you land that role? How did you get there?
Okay, let me start with how I landed the role, because then that will feed with how I feel. So how I landed the role is that when I'm not acting, I'm also a casting director, and so the company that I work for was holding the auditions for MTV Suga, and so the people that came to audition for the character of Saul played it too on the nose, right?
So you stole a role, basically.
He casted himself. You're like casting
Basically, you casted yourself, bro.
Yeah, I mean, they started playing it on the nose, and when people came into audition for Tulu, I would then read with the character, right? And I would do it like very blasé, like I'd even be eating sweets while reading the character, and so the director was like, "Why don't you read for this character?" And so yeah, man, I auditioned for it, and I guess it played off. That's why Saul actually has a sucker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, it fits the description. That would make sense.
Yeah, I was eating jelly babies in the audition. Yeah.
Okay. Huh. So,
how you feel part?
So then to go to the rest of your question, so when I got the role, for me, it was, yes, I was ecstatic getting a role like this. That's going to challenge me as an actor, but I was not aware of the magnitude of the show, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so when it blew up, and I started getting, the reaction, and on Instagram, my followers started growing, being Kenyan followers, Nigerian followers, and I was like, what's going on? But what's beautiful from it is that I started realizing, that people, regardless of where you're from, we all go through the same issues. There are issues that we can all relate on.
Right.
Something like gender-based violence has no borders, has no passport, it has no ID number. Something such as violence, such as everything that MTV Suga spoke about was universal languages. And so being able to tap into other continents and other countries but still relate to the same issues, that for me was one of the most rewarding things ever. I felt like my purpose was reaching greater heights, or going beyond borders, So yeah, man, it's such a privilege. It's such an honor. Each and every day, I'm very grateful for it. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I've been able to see now. I actually now want to see more of Africa more than I want to see, Europe and I want to tour more of Africa, and that has been through that experience and through that exposure.
So tell me something, Ayanda. Whilst on the same discussion of GBV and so forth, as Glenn mentioned and as you've mentioned, this is a really big issue in Africa. South Africa is going through it the most right now. when we've had circumstances where as guys you see your friend experience something and you do something and some guys are like, that's my friend, I know him, he's not that type of person. The excuseness, they call them. After playing this role, how does Ayanda approach that kind of person, and how do you talk to people like that to make them understand that, dog, what you're doing isn't wrong?
Look, I'll be honest with you. This is an everyday challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would be lying if I said that I am totally on the ball with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there are moments where I do kind of miss a friend saying, you know, they might say, "Oh, check that girl," you know, whatever. There are moments where I'll miss that, you know, but there will be moments where I'll call him out, you know. But I think the most important thing is to start having that conversation.
Yeah.
The most important thing, and what I've been thriving to do, is to start creating a safe space amongst men and amongst, you know, us as gents.
Mm-hmm.
It should be comfortable for me to go to another guy and say, "Yo, man, listen, I'm going through issues."
Mm-hmm.
You know, it should be comfortable for me to say, "Listen, man, I feel uncomfortable by the way you guys were talking to this girl or the way you guys direct." That's where the challenge starts.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
By making that comfortable. I shouldn't feel that for me to call you out, I'm going to be less of a cool guy.
Okay.
That shouldn't be the case, you know. And that's where we need to start. And that's what I'm that's what I'm driving for.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, one of the things that I think is very central to your description of MTV Suga, and I'm going to put you on the spot right now, something that Kevin Hart has taken fire from, is the idea of cancel culture. And I've been speaking about that a lot, to say, so many times we're quick to say this person should fall. But after they fall, then what? Because for every one perpetrator you have in prison, there are 1,000 others that stay behind. And you then talked about how people experience the character of Saul in season 1, but in season 2, they're like, it's not right. What you're doing is not right. But I understand you. You know, how does all that fit in within cancel culture? Because I feel like we've gone in a season where we are baying for blood instead of building society. So even though someone goes to prison, that rehabilitation doesn't happen. It's almost like we want to destroy someone's life entirely. And for me, my understanding is that if someone has gone through something, they've done something, they have served the term, they should come back reformed to society, not the very same person that they were when they went into prison, which is exactly what you said when we started the show. Now, how do you fit that within the Glen must fall, Ayanda must fall culture, and the this you culture?
You know what? This must fall culture is, for me, firstly, is built in an environment that was toxic to begin with. You know, the Twitter space is very toxic. It's rare for us to find a must rise culture. You know, it's rare for us to find a positive message on Twitter. Each and every day, whoever's trending is being trolled, is being, you know, attacked. So just the fact that that must fall culture exists means that it's built on the backs of a negative mindsets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's what you want to change in society first.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that we are positive. Nothing can be built from a negative mindset. You know, everything, whether we put on, if you start putting the rocks, someone's going to say, yeah, but the rocks you're putting, the sand you're putting the rocks on is not good enough. So we'll never move forward, right? So now you've got someone who's being condemned, and someone who has been rehabilitated, trying to get back into society, and then you've got a society saying, "Yo, it's great. You can start a new organization from your experience. You can start whatever it is, but don't forget that you raped."
Mm-hmm.
You know. I think what we need to do as a society, we need to build safe spaces for those people. You know, that person needs to come back in society into a group that's gonna make him focus on the positives of his life. You know, into a space, whether it be amongst his friends, and that's where it starts. Build a smaller society that's going to give you a positive environment and a safe space, because that person has the power to change the next person. Because he's
So,
experienced it, he's got the power to go to another perpetrator and say, listen, man, I've been where you are. We can change this. But if we don't allow that person to feel positive in his rehabilitation, then it will never be a ripple effect.
so let me ask you this, Ayanda, in was on that same respect. A lot of people that come with the must fork culture are usually standing aside with the survivor. I don't call them victims, they're survivors. And so some people will react and say, okay, Uzbanibani, you must fall because you did this to this person, and this person is going through this, that because of your actions. Now, it's great and all that you might go to jail and come back reformed, but the actions of the survivors or the consequences on the survivor might not be the same. How do you then go about helping the survivor to ensure that, okay, even when that guy goes to jail and they come back reformed, they can process that and understand that, okay, you did this because of X, Y, Z. I now need to be in a better space to be able to accept what you did and build myself to be better.
Definitely. I mean, that is probably the biggest challenge in this whole thing, right? Because the root of this whole thing is, can you ever forgive someone?
Right.
Right. And I think we are different as people. Some people can say, yeah, I guess if I go through therapy and all of the necessary steps, and he goes through the same steps, maybe I can get to a point of forgiveness. But we as humans are different. It impacts us differently. You know, there are people who become suicidal from it. There are people who close off from the world. So I think more than anything, it's a matter of starting with self as the survivor. I mean, there's so much we can do. We can, on the surface, give you the tools of therapy, you know, put you together with other survivors who have gone through it and have survived and have, you know, conquered it. But you as the individual, there's a lot that you need to deal with.
You know what I think about you, Ayanda, is that I feel like you have this unique mix of experience and backgrounds that places you in a prime position where your role is not just to react, you know, because whatever we say, whether we say must fall or survivor, for there to be a survivor, for a survivor to exist, it means there is a problem.
Right.
For a perpetrator to exist, it means there is a problem. And a lot of all that comes from socialization. It comes from what we've seen on the media, what we've consumed, what we've seen growing up, what we think is okay. So, like, for example, you would think it's okay to have sex or do whatever you want with someone because you paid their rent. You know, all of these things are things that are ingrained in our culture. But you are placed in a prime spot where, besides being an entertainer, besides being a casting director, you have all these other experiences and even a purpose and a role to act as a motivational speaker. Now, we're about to go for a break in the next 4 minutes, but I just want to pick your mind on how you bring all this together to probably maybe look into the preventative side and to the building side before we even speak about survivors. Because for me, I think what we would want is a world where we get rid of toxic masculinity, we get rid of all the toxicity in the world, maybe from females, from males, and we have fewer victims and survivors, we have fewer perpetrators. What's the role of media and a person like you with all these mix of attributes? What's the role you think you can play?
I think the role, first and foremost, is very self-reflective, because at the end of the day, I too am human, right?
Yeah.
I too have gone through temptations, challenges. You know, I've gone through days where I've been in an environment where, you know, trying to hook up with girls and you know. So my role is to take what I have experienced,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not at any point saying I'm at a point where I'm I'm on the I know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I too am still on a point where I'm still currently learning, and I'm still gonna make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what I'm at, I have the privilege of having this ideal world that I would like to create. You know, in my head,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, the ideal world will be this safe space. The ideal world will be this kind of space. I think this is where I would be able to be my most honest self. This is where I'd be able to deal with all my issues and whatever it is. I have the responsibility of creating that space because of the reach I have,
Mm-hmm.
because of the influence I have. I have the
Mm-hmm.
responsibility of going out there and saying which other men or which other humans have gone through what I've gone through or are going through something else but
Mm-hmm.
would like a safe space for us to that's my responsibility. So
Mm-hmm.
that the survivors can go into that space and
Mm-hmm.
reflect. The perpetrators can go into that space and reflect.
Mm-hmm.
And within that space, that's where we'll find the forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that's my role.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
We're
I
gonna go to
guess.
a break now.
Sorry.
We're gonna go to a break now.
I think we might as well take a break. And when we come back, we hope we get the lighter moment of Ayanda.
Mhoroi, Mhoroi, Mhoroi. Waking up and get the money, man.
All right, we're back from the break. We still have Ayanda Makayi. So when I looked him up, I saw two different spellings. It was Ayanda Makayi, which is Makayi, and there was Ayanda Makayi, which is Mckayi. What's the difference?
Can I explain myself?
Please
Can I
do.
explain myself? My surname on ID and my real surname and where I'm credited for my work is Makayi.
Mm-hmm.
But like while growing up in high school, I used to have friends, and her name was Christian Mackenzie.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be fascinated by the whole
Ma-
Scottish kind of, so the McFarlanes, the
Oh.
Donald,
You're like, I'm gonna
Macintosh.
make myself a
So I was like,
Makayi.
I'm gonna be a Mackay. And then it stuck. I mean, and then when you're still in high school and you're creating emails and you're creating Facebook names, and then it was part of that. And by the time I started working, I forgot to change it.
Ah.
So, so my first ever film was credited like this.
Oh,
Like
Yeah,
MCKAYI.
and
exactly.
a lot of stuff actually still gets credited like that. Especially if I do like an event where I'm emceeing or whatever. People tend to just assume because that's my handle on social media,
Uh-huh.
they will just grab that. So a lot of the stuff is still being, but now my music, because I do go music now, um,
Interesting. Uh-huh.
I, I'm using that surname for music,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just pronounced as McKay. It's in
Oh,
McKay, yeah, McKay. So that's yeah. I've decided let me just use it for something else.
uh-huh. But
Yeah,
you are closer, right?
yeah, I'm closer.
Uh, I'm trying to get into the story that makes you who you are because I have seen that you are proud of that heritage. You put it
Yeah,
out there, you know.
yeah. I'm very
Uh,
closer, man. And
mhm.
I'm proud of Kosa, and I try even with my acting for that to be my signature. Firstly, I went to a very modesty school,
Mhm.
where the local community used to say, "I Suga, you guys from Queen's College, you don't know Kosa."
Your torso was diluted, Baba.
Yeah, it wasn't diluted kind of thing. So when I came out and I into the game, to the industry, and and started showing the whole Xhosa effect with my beads and the way I was dressed and stuff, I made sure that the Xhosa I use will always be deep Xhosa.
That deep Xhosa, yeah.
That deep Xhosa. And so even now, when people meet me, they'll always say, "Oh, here's this guy with that nice Xhosa," you know. So it's become part of my brand, yeah.
This is interesting. So I want to delve deeper into this whole home thing.
Yeah.
Why music? You already have the TV, you already have the acting, you are casting director, you are the gatekeeper. Why go into music?
Well, actually, there was music before there was acting for me.
Oh.
Yeah, I used to play in high school. I was in the choir. And then I used to play the trumpet.
Man of many talents. Wine glasses.
And then I played wine glasses, yes. And I played the drums. So music had always been there. However, as I grew up, my voice started breaking, and I couldn't, reach the high notes I used to. And naturally, in our family, we husky.
Okay.
So yeah, the voice just left, man. And but what I still did in varsity, I did a double major when I was studying for screen acting. I also studied media music composing for film, so that flame of the music doesn't die, and then when I started emceeing events. I started enjoying the call and response that I would have with people,
Right.
You do things like "Aritza Mairuna," all of that kind of stuff, When people responded, I was like, "Oh, snap. I like that.
I should go back to that.
Oh, I could put that on a beat." And yeah, man, I think Gqom music for me, why I went with Gqom, because of all the stuff that I do, right? Working with the UN and all the humanitarian and the social impact stuff that I do, there's almost a bit of pressure that you cannot be seen having fun. You cannot be seen being reckless. You cannot be seen, you know what I mean?
It's speaking to me right there.
It's true.
And so for me, Gqom music was almost an outlet. It was almost
like, let me be.
Like
that space where I could let that inner party animal out, So yeah, that's why I went with it, man. Gqom, and it doesn't require me to be, to come up with too many pipes. My voice, my voice sits just right there. Yeah.
Ayanda, you're a part of a band, is it?
Beg pardon?
You're a part of a band, is it? Where you play the wine glasses and all
not
that?
anymore. Not anymore. Unfortunately, the band has broken up. But I was part of a band called Eco Groove, which was a band that was focused on creating instruments with recycled materials. So I played the wine glasses. Someone else played the PVC pipe organ. Someone else played a tree chime with just broken glasses. Yeah, man, but we made some amazing music,
Yeah.
Dude, are you Superman?
Exactly.
Like, you guys can't get a guitar or something.
No, I'm just Xhosa.
Oh man,
that's a good one.
You know what I was gonna ask you, Ayanda. You can do. What can you not do? Can you play soccer?
I can play soccer, I can play hockey, I can play rugby, I can play cricket.
Man, get away. Get away. So what can you not do?
I cannot commit to gym. Damn, that's one thing
This guy.
Get away, bro.
I wish I could commit to working out.
Look at yourself. Look at yourself. What gym do you want?
Dude, have you seen how skinny I am? Have you seen how skinny I am?
Man, I've been on a regime to work out right now because I just want to get to a body like yours. Now you're here like, I can't commit to gym.
Hey man, if I could commit to working out, I think it could take my career to the next level in terms of acting and in terms of the characters I play. That has been my biggest challenge, which I refuse to be defeated by. So watch the space.
Again. 2020.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
all right, Glenn. Do we wrap up the conversation now?
All right. I mean, I'm just gonna have to ask Ayanda a couple of questions so that people get to know. I know we're left with a few minutes, but what is it that people can expect from you?
What can people expect from me? Jeepers, man. I'm currently part of the best thing that's gonna come out of Africa right now, called Blood Songs. Some have deemed it the Game of Thrones of Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Blood Songs by Yellowbone Entertainment. It's amazing. Oof, Africa's never told stories like these before, man. It's Kemet times. It's pre-colonial times. It's so it's gonna be amazing. There's not even Nguni tribes or anything like that. It's before that.
Oh,
so we're not even gonna see the Xhosa come out. Like I thought that's where the
there's no Shaka. I know.
It's pre-Shaka times. It's trust me. You know, the history we know as Africans right now is not even older than England.
Right.
This is the story we're telling is before that.
Oh, are you recreating it, or you actually have this from historical?
So what we're doing it's an epic adventure. And the research that has gone behind it is extreme. But what we've done language-wise is that we have stuck to the languages we know.
Okay.
But what we've done with that, we've ensured that even those languages are not on the surface.
Deep.
Yeah, it's deeper understanding of the languages, and you'll find that even dialogue-wise, some things are more told in action. We don't speak if we don't have to.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil. We don't want to spoil this. No spoiler alerts.
Well, you can definitely find the trailer. The trailer is out, or the teaser.
It's on Netflix.
The teaser's out. It's going to be on Showmax. Showmax and Canal Plus, together with Yellowbone Entertainment. So you can look on Instagram, find Yellowbone Entertainment. You will see it out there. Or even on YouTube, if you just search for Blood Psalms, you'll find the teaser right there.
All right, Ayanda, before we go into the final, I don't know if you've heard about the Fingers of Death, but we have the 5 Fingers of Death on the show, which is the ultimate part of the show. But before we get into that, I'm just going to ask you, because you speak about Africa a lot, and I can tell that your heart is in the motherland. And you've said that before, that you would rather travel Africa.
I think I lost you guys there, sorry.
Yeah, no worries, it's okay. You've said that you would prefer to travel.
I think I lost you guys there.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can see you.
Hello?
Now. Yeah, we're here. We can see you. Mike, can you hear him?
I can hear him.
I can't hear you at all.
I don't know what's going on. Let's hope that he comes back. Mike, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm not getting anything.
Exit and come back in.
So yeah, I was saying that you can tell that there is this deep grounding in Africa for you. You've said it before that you'd rather travel the rest of Africa than travel the rest of the world, Europe and all that. What is your hope for Africa, and what is not only your hope, but what is, first of all, your state of Africa? If you're going to give a state of the address of Africa in a few words, and your hope for Africa in a few words, what would it be?
As Africans, we are humans before we are different countries. And so I think it's high time we as Africans realize the power in collaborating as Africans. The rest of the world wants to hear our story right now. The rest of the world is currently sitting listening. It's not time to say Zimbabwe has a louder voice, South Africa has a louder voice, Kenya. It's time to say Africa has a very loud voice. Our collaboration, our work, our stories shouldn't be determined by our ID numbers or our passport numbers.
And our borders.
our borders. So first and foremost is that Africa, it's time to unite because the rest of the world is sitting listening. This goes across the board from entertainment to corporate, to agriculture, to whatever it is, whatever industry. Hope is that one day we could realize our potential.
Yeah.
As Africa, realize that we are stronger in numbers. My hope is for us to realize that, for example, in South Africa, our 11 different languages are powerful. We don't need to dilute them to speak a different language that's not even ours. Swahili is powerful. Being a Maasai is powerful. You don't need to feel any less of a human because you are still dressed in Maasai clothes or you still wear your beads. And that's my hope for Africa.
Thank you so much. And that reminds me of a time I once tweeted that, like I've seen that in the diaspora in England and in the USA. Most of the time people have to put out their CVs out. When they're asked how many languages they speak, they say, I speak one language, and they say English. I'm like, why do you leave? Why did you leave your other languages out? Your native languages are as good. So I'm learning Swahili right now. I write Kiswahili, I write my Shona there, and sometimes the Bele is Zulu. But let's wrap it up. I'm going to take you to the 5 fingers of death. Before I do that, Mike, do you have any questions?
5 minutes of death.
Fingers of death, Baba.
5 minutes of death. Okay.
5 fingers of death. It's not 5 minutes.
5 fingers.
It should be done in like a minute if you cooperate. So these are the rules. I'll ask you a question. You answer. I don't want any technicalities. I don't want any jibber jabber. Just go straight to the point. Question, move it. We keep it moving like that. So, question number 1. What does God mean to you?
Love.
What is love?
I love this.
Oh, did he freeze? Oh man, we lost him. Did we lose him?
I think we lost him.
Oh, but he was frozen already.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we had network issues, so we lost Ayanda Makayi. Nonetheless, we had him here on Real Talk with Glen and Mike. Couldn't finish the 5 fingers of death, but we got the first one. So we've come to the end of our program today. That was episode 6 of Real Talk with Glen and Mike. Thank you so much for taking time out to join us. I go by the name of Mike Mhoroi.
And I am Glen Dhliwayo. From me and Mike, peace out.
Peace.
Mhoroi, Mhoroi, Mhoroi. Waking up and get the money.